Take 1,000. Hi y'all, this is Nia. This is my portfolio project on Black language, the trials and tribulations. Disclaimer, I don't know how to draw. I did a little bit of stick figuring, so I hope y'all enjoy. My Black language stems from Louisiana. So sorry about that drawing. I tried to do the boot, it didn't work out. And from California. So sorry again, I really tried. I used Black language from the time I learned to speak as a baby until I was in 4th grade. And during those times, I would often hear like little comments that were a little racist, but I kind of just stepped over them and didn't really pay attention to them because I'm like, oh, that's just what white people think about, Black people. But it was comments like, every time I would say something, it was like, oh, well, you should say it like this, or oh, why do you talk like that? Or, oh, you talk ghetto, or is that slang? Or is that, you talk like a slave, or, is your grandparents speak like that growing up? And it was like comments like this that were often. It was not only in my classrooms, but my neighbors and everything. By the time I hit 4th grade, I had it. I was over it. I was heated, pissed. Insert fire emoji. I don't know how to draw fire, but there we go. My first Black teacher really dawned on me about, Black language and the importance of not using it when she told me, more like scolded at me, that white people don't really understand our language and that I have to stop talking like that. I have to use white mainstream English if I wanted people to take me seriously, and I had to stop talking like I was in the hood still, because I wasn't in the hood. And she was like, you have to, if you want opportunities or people to pay attention to you, you need to stop using it. And it hurt my feelings because she was my favorite teacher. But from that moment on, I was determined, to stop using Black language and use only white mainstream English. So I started reading books and, really trying to change my language at the time. And I was like, if it takes me forever, then I'll get it eventually. But more importantly, I started paying a little bit more attention in class, not necessarily to the lessons, but to the way like people were speaking around me, especially my teachers. And my teachers were predominantly white. So if they were going to say good morning and emphasize that ing at the end, I would do the same. So they would hear me where I'm not saying good morning, I'm saying good morning. And I would really enunciate my words and just like the endings especially, and just copying and imitating how they spoke. And I loved it. I spent so much time around other white kids and listening to them, and I made friends with them, and I just felt so loved and so cool. And I was like, I'm getting the hang of this. And once I started getting the hang of it, I started, to use it to other white people. But every now and again, my Black language would seep out and I would mess up, and I would say, like, hello, how you doing? And instead of, how are you doing? And I had some people correct me, like, don't you mean how are you doing? And they would emphasize the ing, and I'm like, I knew that, but it just seeped out. So it got to the point where I was getting discouraged because no matter how hard I tried, I still messed up a little bit. So it was a little irritating, but it's fine. So I even practiced at home, especially with my family who were, predominantly Black language speakers. They didn't understand white mainstream English or really recognize it. So I would use all these big words in front of them. Like, my favorite thing was when I taught them the anthology book, and they were so amazed, like, oh my gosh, what does that mean? And oh my goodness, she's so smart. And my mom especially was so proud. She was like, look at my baby using all them big words. And she was just so happy. And my brothers and sisters were like, oh, what is that language? Like, oh, you sound so smart and so educated. And I was living in it, And white mainstream language became my obsession. I loved the compliments that I got. Like, you sound so smart. And oh my goodness, you talk so well for your age. And just hearing it from other Black people and white people, I felt like, oh, okay. I was smelling myself a little bit. I really felt like I was it. But what I didn't realize was that my obsession became daunting on my family and other Black language speakers, because when you hear it enough and you start, correcting it, I started correcting them and treating them like other people treated me when I was using Black language. I started with, you're actually supposed to say it like this, and I don't think that's what you meant, and that's not grammatically correct. It's actually supposed to be this. And And they got tired of it eventually. It caused a huge void between my family and myself and my friends and myself. And I remember my mom told me, just because you talk white doesn't mean that you are. And in her way, she was saying, you can do all the things that white people do, but you will never be that. And I didn't understand it. It took me a while to understand what that meant. I was just like, well, I'm just learning a language. Like, what's the big ideal? And my friends were just like, well, you're an Oreo now, so you can't hang out with us. And I just felt like I was kicked out of the Black community. Like, well, I am still Black, but just because I talk like a white person doesn't mean I'm trying to be. And that made me really sad. Tear. So at this point, I didn't understand what the big idea was or why everyone was so mad at me. It was to the point where I was like, what the fuck? But sure. Later on in life, the more I've grown up, I, realized, that I had become the white listening subject. It was like an aha moment. I was like, whoa, that's it. And then I was like, oh, shoot, now I'm the problem. Uh-oh. And this was part of my linguistic push-pull. Like, I love this stuff, but I didn't want to hurt, my family as well. And I wanted to fix it. Like, I was drawn and really trying to fix my life and fix my relationships between the Black community and myself. So I don't have a really good picture of me with a hammer, but imagine. So I had to learn to love my Black language again and white mainstream English and use them both simultaneously. So if I was around other Black people, I would say, how you doing? And if I were around other white people, I would say good morning with the ing. And just learn to use them both, because learning that white mainstream English and my Black language, they were both a part of me, and I love them both. And I'm always going to love them both, and they're always going to be a part of my life and a part of my culture, and using them simultaneously. Sorry, I could not say that. But thanks, y'all. I appreciate you for watching. That's all, folks. I wish I had the little Looney Tunes, outro, but yeah. Thank you.